Today on Locked On Red Wings, a sloppy first period sinks any comeback opportunity in the third period.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. Scotty's the host over at Locked On Tigers, as well as a sports writer for C&G newspapers, while I am a color commentator for Oakland University, ACHA, D1 men's hockey. Today's episode is just going to be a breakdown of yet another loss to the biggest rival who continually kicks your ass. So,
is it a rivalry when you never beat them?
Michigan was asking that same question about Ohio State for a long time until recently. So,
true.
I mean, it's just it's a big rivalry in that the fact that both these teams were kind of running parallels with each other for a long time, but now Ottawa's clearly pulled ahead. And even when they were running parallels, Ottawa still dominated Detroit in the regular season. So, first period and second period are honestly more of the same of that. We'll talk about all that and more on today's episode. But I got to let you guys know today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, FanDuel customers can get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Also want to thank you guys for making Locked On Red Wings your first listen every day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, Scotty, 4-3 loss at home. The comeback falls short as Detroit scores 3 goals in the third period to lose by 1. What's your initial reaction to how this game played out?
I think my initial reaction was, why even bother? Like, why did we even screw around at the end there and like pretend like there was going to be a comeback? Obviously that's tongue in cheek. I think my initial reaction was just that kind of what we have already talked about 2 minutes in. It's just like the Sens have your number, man. I do not want to play the Ottawa Senators in a must-win game for the Red Wings, like, ever again. You know what I mean? Like, that has happened time and time again over the last 3 years, and you've walked away winning none of them. So that's a slap in the face, and yeah, just like the ending, like, it's almost more frustrating to like kind of come back and then fall short than it is to just get punched in the mouth and walk away from the game in that sense. So yeah, my first reaction was just Ottawa, takes another one, really.
I mean, it's just, that was like the fakest comeback I've ever seen. Like, at no point during that comeback was I like, oh my God, they may seriously actually tie this. Like, Tarasenko scored, and I tweeted, I'm like, I was dead to the world. Do not do this to me. Like, I had accepted my fate that the season was over, which, mind you, even despite this loss, the Red Wings are still only 3 points back because Montreal lost again. Nobody wants wild card 2. And I think that adds to the frustration. It's like, I want to roll over and die at this point. I want the season to end. I want to start counting down towards the draft and free agency, but I can't, because despite the Red Wings' best efforts, they're still in this thing. And it's the most frustrating in the world because it's like they don't deserve to be with how they're playing. They genuinely do not deserve to be in the mix as close as they are with 10 games left.
Yeah.
With how they're performing, but every other team keeps losing, or the teams that need to win, it's just here they are. And with this game, Scotty, it comes down to the first period. That's my difference maker in this hockey game, is just the first period overall. You're down 3-0 at the end of the first period. You're down 2-0 at the end of the first period, but you have 5 power plays, one of which carried over into the second, and you couldn't take advantage of the opportunities you were given. Your goaltending was abysmal. And on top of that, you were just consistently giving away the puck for opportunities going back the other way. It was just sloppy play, defensive lapses. And defensive lapses, I mean from the forwards, because a lot of times it's the forwards that defensively lapse. And, of course, the goaltending, as always, is just, as it has been since the second half of the season began, has not been up to snuff, and that put you in a huge hole early. It ended up being 3-0 right after that 5th power play ended in the second. it puts you in way too big of a hole to even think about coming back out of, even despite the fact that they nearly did.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we want to transition into difference maker, I think my difference maker is the fact that they went 1 for 6 on the power play. I think that that's kind of a safe bet. Like,
Right.
that is the only unit that has even semi-consistently shown up for you this year, and really been the only way that you've been able to consistently put the puck in the back of the net. And so if you had any chance of winning a game that ended up being a 1-goal game, you needed to come through with a unit that has been one of the best power plays in hockey, and they didn't for 5 of them.
And that's what's crazy about it too, is like you look at this final score and you go, wow, this game was one horrible period away from being completely winnable. Like they don't have I'm not saying they have a good first period. They have a okay first period. They win this hockey game. But they came out and they almost looked like they weren't prepared for the intensity of the game that Ottawa was going to have. And again, we've said it before. This team really struggles with teams that are high tempo, fast tempo. The Red Wings seem to almost want to play a slower game, especially in the defensive zone and offensive zone, control the pace. But when a team comes at them with pressure, they immediately fold. And it's incredibly frustrating to watch against a team like Ottawa who, again, the rivalry, the parallels, the bragging rights on who can get in the playoffs first, which is going to be Ottawa clearly here. They come at you fast and they just turn the puck over. I mean, that first goal against was completely avoidable. If Dylan Larkin just doesn't make a blind drop pass and realizes the guy's coming out of the box, creates a 2-on-1 going back the other way. And I don't know if that puck clipped Sider or not, but it was another one that Lyon went right through him. The second goal, now this is where I start to have problems. Red Wings had 3 straight power plays, so the whistles kind of went away for a second. Brady Tkachuk straight up tackles Lucas Raymond.
Yeah,
that was the most egregious, roughing I've ever seen, where he just literally grabbed him from the front of the jersey, tackled him, and then pushed his head in the ice by using his body and held him there. Meanwhile, everyone comes back the other way, and then again, Tim Stützle beats Lyon short side. And if you're a goaltender, you especially can't be beaten short side. That's your strong side. And then the third goal was a Ben Sherratt looked like he was trying to either pass it to Rasmussen, who was banged up on the boards, or just dump it, and it goes off Rasmussen. Karim's back to their guy, hit Perron for a breakaway, and Lyon again is beaten short side. So it's the dumb mistakes. It's always the same dumb mistakes. The lapses defensively, the turnovers, and combined with just goaltending that's not up to snuff. You cannot buy a save in a critical moment that's going to keep you in a hockey game right now. And even Talbot, right? Talbot came in, he put up a .955 save percentage, but on a 2-on-1 when they needed him to give them a save the most, he let a squeaker through. So it's just the same stupid flaws kill them in every game. And to your point, Scotty, the one thing that throughout the seasons has been able to kind of cover up the glaring problems with this team, the power play, went dead silent, 0 for 5 in the first period. And a lot of that, I give credit to Ottawa's PK because they clearly watched and learned Detroit's method, and they were shutting down all those cross-seam passing lanes like crazy. So it's just that first period doomed them, and they looked like they didn't belong on the same ice as Ottawa.
Yeah, no, the fact that this game, A, ended as close as it did, but B, was even in the same realm of, I don't even want to say competitiveness. The score being as close as it was in the third period at any point was a miracle, was wild. They did get their shots on net. They just weren't very competitive, and they got out physicaled again. Copy and paste every single time they've played Ottawa seemingly for 3 years now.
Yes, they have not. It's something about the Senators. It's something about March. This team is just, I don't know if they don't play. Let's go to a break. Let me collect my thoughts.
Let's do it.
We'll do notable performers next. So stay tuned to segment 2 of Locked On Red Wings. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Scotty, how exciting would be a matchup between Michigan and Michigan State in the Elite Eight? Of course, Michigan would need a massive upset against Auburn tomorrow. Yeah, very thumbs up. Thank you, Scotty. Appreciate your popping in there. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. You can pick your favorites on a few underdogs this year, and FanDuel makes it easy to back them with spreads, totals, and game props. With tournament games happening almost every day, there's always something exciting to bet on, and the FanDuel app is super simple to use, and when you win, you're going to get paid instantly, no waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on college hoops action all tournament long. Segment 2, Lockdown Red Wings podcast. It's all right, Scotty. No worries, man.
Tough.
You're the least of my worries tonight.
Tough. Wow.
You know, it is. Yeah, right. You know, it's also kind of like double whammy with the fact that, you know, the Red Wings and the Tigers kind of ended at the same time and ended in similar fashions, right? You know, the Tigers, you know, begin to string together or come back, fall just short because they can't get those runners in scoring position home. At the same time, Detroit pulling their goalie, losing board battles against the wall, never really getting an opportunity to equalize it. It's just like, man, the parallels. And then Michigan State losing in the hockey tournament, at least Western Michigan advanced. We got that. We got that. Oh, it was a bad day for Detroit sports. Hopefully tomorrow is better with the Tigers going back at it and, of course, the Sweet 16 continuing. But anyways, let's talk Red Wings. Scotty, notable performers in this hockey game. You know, I want to go back to whom we had mentioned just moments ago, and Alex Lyon. He had a really poor game. You know, looking at each one of those 3 goals he allowed, if that puck went off Moritz Seider on the first goal, okay, I will give you a semi-pass on that. Still think he should have made the save, but at least we know it changed directions on him. The second and third goal beaten short side both times on a player coming down on you. We need you to make that save to give the Red Wings a fighting chance, and he didn't. Of course, Talbot came in into relief, was pretty dang good for the most part, except for the 1 goal he gave up. But it just, again, reinforces what we already know, Scotty, that this goaltending is just not good enough. And we've made the same mistake with goalies 4 goaltenders in a row now, right? Nedeljkovic, you traded for because he had a really good year in Carolina's system in an abbreviated COVID year. You bring him here, he's great for the first half, you run him into the ground, he stinks ever since. Ville Husso, same concept. Fantastic 1B goalie. You trade for him, you bring him here, he's great for the first half of the first season, you run him to the ground, he stinks ever since. Alex Lyon, we saw the magic last year, then you ran him into the ground. Talbot, we saw the magic the first half of the year, then you ran him into the ground. The Red Wings keep making the same mistake with these 1B backup goaltending, thinking that they can just ride these guys like they're true ones, and it's not feasible, and you just desperately need Sebastian Cossa or Trey Augustine to be the answer. Sebastian Cossa, of course, whom they reassigned. They had to. I don't want to be that guy. It's emergency recall. They had to reassign him if Talbot was good to go. But it's really frustrating to know, like, your best prospects on the cusp. I'm not saying they're necessarily wrong for keeping him in Grand Rapids for the meaningful playoff run that they're going to have. But it's just like they need the help so bad now, and there's no reinforcements coming in the net.
Yeah, no, I think the point you made there is a really good one where, you know, big picture, if we're to zoom out, they literally need Cossa and or Augustine to turn out. Like they're really between a rock and a hard place. It's either that or pay a goalie an insurmountable amount of money, which I don't think is something the organization really wants to do either. So yeah, man. They need one of those guys to turn out, and it almost even goes without saying, like the goalie room is going to look different this fall than it does right now. And this goalie room was probably never good enough to get to the postseason as is.
All right. Let's mention a brief silver lining kind of just to break up all the sadness and frustration that is this episode. Lucas Raymond did have a goal and an assist, a nice little goal too, down net front, make it 4-2 late in the third, about halfway through the third period. That goal and assist ties his career high of 72 points that he set just last season, with still 10 games left to be played to just smash it. Obviously, he's been slumping here, coming back from Four Nations, getting a little bit more in the stat sheet the last few games, but still not enough for them to effectively win enough of these games. But it is nice to see one of your young guys who, by the way, is going to turn 23 on Friday here. So by the time people are listening to this, it'll be his 23rd birthday. Happy birthday, Lucas Raymond. One of your young studs continue to take strides forward. He's having another good year, even if right now it doesn't really feel like it.
Yeah, and I think that is what we're still watching for the rest of the way. Well, I guess there's still technically only 3 points out. Like, I guess we're kind of watching to see if the impossible can happen here. But I think that that is kind of the biggest thing to keep an eye out for the rest of the season, is the continued development of, really anybody, I guess.
Anyone. Vladimir Tarasenko scored 2. I think Max Boltman, during the Four Nations break, Max Boltman said that at the time the Red Wings had only won like 2 games when Vladimir Tarasenko had scored. And then after that, I think they won one of the Minnesota games he scored in. So he may have he's only had 10 goals, but he has Red Wings have a losing record when he scores. So it almost feels like it's worse when he does put the puck in the back of the net.
Yeah.
Of course, that's just me being, ridiculous. That's not actually the case. It's just bad luck. But yeah, he converted. He made it 4-3, a 1-goal game, his 10th, so he does reach double digits. Obviously, super disappointing season for Vladimir Tarasenko, but happy that he was able to get on the score sheet nonetheless.
Yeah, I'm there'll be a really interesting conversation surrounding him over the summer as well. Because I feel like it's almost too little too late. Like, if he goes on a heater the rest of the season, like, what does that really change about your opinion of him?
Not much.
Right.
Let's see.
Same.
What else you got, buddy?
That's why I ask.
What else you got?
I think, we already talked about goaltending. I'd like to talk about the blue line. I think that obviously Edvinsson drops the gloves there, doesn't go too terribly well, but nice to see him getting a little emotional and trying to go after one of the stars of the league. I actually thought it's been an inconsistent second half, I feel like, for him. And you've mentioned kind of just like the length of the season and the fact that this is, they're playing full NHL seasons for the first time. I thought that we saw a handful of good from him in this game. There's a couple lapses, obviously, as well. And I don't know, like the rest of it outside of Sider, like, again, it's Petrie, Hole, Sherratt. Like, it's just a kind of a brutal blue line at the moment.
When he shines, he absolutely shines. For him, it is going to be all about the win to make some of these decisions, right? Because he has all the tools, and 75% of the time, he is an astounding defenseman. It's just the ill-timed decisions to go for a stretch pass that gets picked off, or trying to stick handle guys when you should just dump and chase, stuff like that. But that all comes with experience and time. But I love the way he carries himself. He's going to be a top 4 defenseman in this league, if not a top pair defenseman in this league. He's incredible. And I do like the fact that he tried to go after Tim Stutzla, and he was not afraid to drop the gloves with Brady Tkachuk. Wasn't much of a fight, a little bit of a wrestling match, and Brady Tkachuk's got a lot more experience in that, so he kind of ended up in top in the end. But I respect dropping the gloves in that instance. I do appreciate that, especially because that was in that first period that had been going so poorly for Detroit, and I felt like after that moment they woke up a little bit. Of course, again, too little too late. You had a disastrous first period and it cost you, but I felt like after that the Red Wings did play with a little bit more sense of urgency than they were previously. So, again, does not go very far, falls on deaf ears because ultimately that they just played. Honestly, because the second period, they had a really sloppy first that cost them, but their second period wasn't really all that much better. In fact, the Senators dominated the expected goal share in the second period, 75% of the expected goals. They had 11 high-danger chances at 5-on-5 in the second period alone, in which the first and the third, the Red Wings at 5-on-5 actually outchanced them. So even though the first cost them, the second period, the Ottawa dominated them even more, even if they scored less. It really wasn't until the third period where the Red Wings were like, hey, maybe we should try scoring. But it's because they don't know how to deal, not to talk in a circle, but it's because they don't know how to deal with teams that play fast and forecheck hard. And their goaltending also let them down. And they also only scored on 1 out of 6 power plays. But their PK went 2 for 2, so hey, we got that going for us.
Who's the real winner? Maybe the penalty kill was just about the friends we met along the way the whole time, you know?
I think you butchered that, but I understand the sentiment you went for there. Scotty, you know what's beautiful about this being a Friday episode?
You.
I'm beautiful all the time, but thank you. Scotty,
right.
What's beautiful about this being a Friday episode is that we have a preview we can do for Saturday's game, so we can stop talking about this one.
That is beautiful.
Let's do that
Just
next.
like you.
Thank you. You know, you're not half bad yourself.
I'll take half bad.
Daylight savings time snuck up on us again, and if you're feeling lost, that you lost that hour of sleep, 5-Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little boost to power through. Whether you're staying up late watching the NCAA tournament, squeezing in a round of golf right after work, God, I hope I can do that this weekend, or just trying to keep up with your busy day, 5-Hour Energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. You're going to be staying up late all tournament long to watch the action, especially because they keep giving Michigan and Michigan State these late start times. So 5-Hour Energy is going to help you stay up so that you can enjoy the night and the next day. With longer days, you're going to love getting outside for a hike or a run. Tropical Burst is my go-to for a quick boost. Whether I'm at a game or traveling, 5-Hour Energy is easy to grab and keeps me feeling refreshed. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, and peach mango. If you can build your own 12-pack or 24-pack delivered right to your door. Need one now? Grab 5-Hour Energy Shot at your local grocery store or convenience store. They're everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized. Segment 3, Lockdown Red Wings podcast. I know we joked about jumping right into the preview, but Scotty, is there anything else from this game that you want to talk about briefly before we move on?
No. Thanks for asking.
You're welcome. Of note, lines got blended up. Larkin was centering DeBrincat and Kane for a little bit. 5-on-5. Comfer was centering Raymond and Tarasenko. I don't think it'll stick. I think that was McClellan just being frustrated at the lack of productivity because the Ottawa Senators kept shutting everything down. And hey, it kind of worked. They scored like 2 of those 3 goals because of the line shakeups.
Yeah.
So, all right, we'll move on. Boston Bruins on Saturday. I hate to say this because I wish it weren't the truth at this point. Big game for the Detroit Red Wings as they are still in it somehow. They are currently still 3 points back going into Friday here. Boston Bruins hot on their tails, just 3 points back. So this is going to be a big separator for the Red Wings. Boston obviously sold off at the deadline, notably getting rid of their captain, Brad Marchand, who wasn't playing anyways because he was hurt. But this is a Boston Bruins team that is vulnerable, you can take advantage of. And hypothetically,
on paper,
you could make up ground in the wild card. Am I expecting them to? No. But because nobody else wants to win, Red Wings are still right there. So this is a team, and this is a game that is big, especially with as few games as remaining. They're going to just continue to get bigger and bigger from here on out.
Correct. Something that I said, at one point earlier this season, then that kind of went away. But during the Tigers down the stretch last year was like every game you play is the biggest game of the season. And like, I think technically that's probably true for the Wings right now. And it just sucks because it doesn't feel like it.
It doesn't feel important.
Like it doesn't actually feel because we know how this ends, right? And like it's just mathematically it's still such a long shot. It's technically not over. They could every game, like they aren't dead. Like every game that they win could pull them closer. Other teams around them keep losing. Like there is a clear path still, but it just I think the fan base is very deflated. Like it really doesn't feel like it.
Well, consider this, right? Like we keep talking about they're only 3 points back, but if the Red Wings had won in Colorado and tonight against Ottawa, and that would have been a 3-game win streak in which 2 of those games were back-to-back. So it's a hard hypothetical, but consider that if they had won both those games, you'd be back in wild card number 2 because Montreal lost both those days you played. The day you played Colorado and then again tonight when you played Ottawa.
Yeah.
So Red Wings would have been in wild card 2 had they taken advantage of those losses. Instead, they just keep hanging back at 3. So that's why it's hard to get excited. It's like, yeah, they're right there still, but they could be in the position of power had they just won. So
I don't know why they didn't think of that.
Groundbreaking, right? Oh, let's see here. How's Boston's stats looking? Okay, so here's the deal. David Pastrnak, obviously one of the premier goal scorers in the NHL, 35 goals, 50 assists for 85 points, 73 games. Scotty, who is their next highest point scorer?
That's on the roster? I'm assuming not like, or is that the thing? Is that it's
that's the joke I'm going for.
Someone that was traded away, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
sure.
might be.
That is crazy though. How far removed are we from the deadline now?
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Dude, is that it?
Actually, no. Is it 3 weeks now? 7th?
I was gonna say a month, but that's not right.
It was March 7th, so this is March 28th. So it's 3 weeks? Yeah.
Yeah.
3 weeks.
Okay. Oh,
Math.
yeah. On the nose 3 weeks. Light work. Yeah, that's wild though. That's wild that 3 weeks of not playing and no one has surpassed him yet. I guess we went through something with that last year, didn't we?
I don't remember.
I don't
care to remember.
Let's not even try to think about it.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Brad Marchand is second on the Bruins in points, obviously traded to the Panthers at 47. So it's not even like it's some astronomical number, like 70, 75 is not astronomical, but you know what I mean, where it's like a pretty healthy point total. Pavel Zacha has 8 more games played than Brad Marchand this season and 3 fewer points. Like, this is a team that has no offense left in it besides David Pastrnak. And Jeremy Swayman, this is the big concern, right? Can Jeremy Swayman carry the load as the number 1? He had been splitting with Linus Ullmark. And this season, he's got an .892 save percentage, kind of proving that he can't. So this all makes for a very disappointing loss on Saturday. That's where I'm at. Like,
well, it's funny.
This is a team you should beat.
Yeah. It's funny because this was when we did remaining schedule on the year. This was Boston was like the only game that we were like maybe this one isn't a guaranteed loss. But that doesn't mean it's a gimme. That just means that you're like kind of even with them. So we'll see.
Yep. So there's your game preview, guys.
Boom.
Boston Saturday. Is this in Boston, right? Or is this one at home?
I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, don't even know.
It's getting to that point in the season where, like, the level
it's at 8 p.m., so I'd imagine it's on the road, but I don't know that.
Nope. It's at Detroit.
Completely wrong. It's at home. All right,
it's an
cool.
ABC game. That's why it's 8 o'clock. Prime time.
Word.
So, this is for those not watching, I'm giving a thumbs up to the camera.
Why did you feel the need to say that?
Well, because not everyone watches on YouTube.
No. Okay. Yeah, I get that. Why did you want to make it so known that you were giving a thumbs up?
This is just like, we're good. Got it.
Oh, we are?
Sure.
Cool.
Any final thoughts?
We ball.
All right. We sure do. We ball. We'll be back with a game recap on Monday. Stay tuned for that. Same time, same place. It's your team every day.